Hello again, I am Blunty. This, going on all around me, is RTX, Rooster Teeth Expo. You know, the red versus blue guys, the ruby people, the achievement hunters, those guys. Expo all about them. A little bit self-indulgent if you ask me. And it happens to be going on in the worst venue I've ever experienced. There are two words that everybody uses to describe the experience here this weekend. Hot, sweaty. It's uncomfortable, but people are enjoying themselves, regardless of the hot and sweatiness of it all.
So yeah, first up the main hall. While the crowd and mood was good, the physical experience of just being on the show floor was one of miserable uncomfortability. It was hot, it was humid, I didn't speak to a single person who wasn't physically miserable about being there and pouring sweat constantly. Dehydration was in fact a serious risk at play and an ongoing medical concern. It was literally dangerous to be there unless you drank lots of water, and of course you had to either bring lots of water or buy lots of water. And you know what, this was easily the very worst venue for this type of event I have ever experienced. And aside from the stench of thousands of sweating attendees that collected instantly on the first day and remained for the whole weekend, there was no effective air conditioning at the venue at all. There weren't even fans to just kind of move the air about, it just went stagnant. It was disgusting in a word, and I will never ever go to another event at this venue ever again. It was that bad.
Alright, there are actually two more words that a lot of people are using to describe this event. Now the first one is noisy, as you may be able to hear. Again, venue's fault. Terrible. So, what do you call them? Acoustics. Don't know why I blanked there. I nearly said autistics. Terrible autistics all over the place. No, terrible acoustics is the word I was looking for.
Now, aside from the physical misery, everything else about the expo was pretty much the same as any other similar convention. The guests of honor, in this case the teams from Rooster Teeth and Achievement Hunters and Ruby and the new Laser Team movie and the guys from Funhouse were all there hosting panels and talks and demos and taking pictures with fans and of course signing autographs.
We are the bomb diggity.
Somewhere in the middle of that thrall is, I think, Ryan signing people's badges. I'd join in and get my badge signed. I wouldn't mind it so much, but it is dense. And frankly, everyone here, including me, if I'm honest with you, stink. So humid. We're all sweaty and stinky.
There were two theatre-style rooms for panels, none of which I entered because being locked in a room with that many people who smelt that bad seemed like a really bad idea to me. But there was also a stage on the main expo floor, which itself was a disaster. There wasn't nearly enough seating, leading to people either standing around in a thick crowd straining to hear what was going on over the disastrously echoey environment, or just sitting around on the uncomfortable bare concrete floor. Can't even see what's going on. In fact, I found one guy who was sitting there at the, offside of the main stage, but watching it unfold through the Twitch stream because he just couldn't see the stage and he just didn't want to be part of the crowd, so he just sat somewhere and watched the thing on his tablet.
Coming through. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Whoop. Now I can talk to the camera again without fear of running into someone. Nope, I can't. There we go.
Nearby, of course, there was the requisite merchandise booth, one of the only areas on the show floor where any effort at all was put into controlling the crowding. Because, too many people in here could lead to merchandise theft, and thus a direct loss of cash money. Unlike the stinking wretches crowding around the main stage where there was no extra money to be made, so why even try controlling the crowd properly?
I'm so dehydrated. I've drank I think 1.5 liters of water in the last 2 hours, and I still feel dehydrated.
One of the larger booths at the show was Origin PC, who, if you're not familiar with them, are a lot like Alienware was before Dell purchased their soul. And if I remember correctly, some of the ex-Alienware people are responsible for Origin PC. In any case, they make custom-built gaming PCs, and they had a booth where people could play games like CSGO, I think. And interestingly, there was some decent bargains to be had if you were willing to purchase an X-Demo unit, which has probably had a brutal road life of multiple expos just like this one. Good value, but I'm not sure I trust it. Elsewhere on the show floor there were a few indie games up for play, nowhere near the fantastic selection you'll find at shows like PAX, but there were still a couple that caught my eye. The first was Loopin' Ball, a 4-player arena battle party game thingy with fast and surprisingly fun action, quick rounds, and even in this very early alpha stage here's some interesting level designs for the stage themes. And at the most basic level, the game is about running around as a little anthropomorphic wolf character, collecting enough power-ups to be able to either fire off your main weapon, which, a bit like a green shell in Mario Kart games, will simply keep bouncing around off the walls until it kills something, even yourself by the way, or you can activate a defensive move. The rounds rapidly got hectic and twitchy and very fun, and if you like this kind of quick blast multiplayer action, I'd say it's well worth keeping an eye on Loopin' Ball. On almost the exact opposite side of the coin, the other game I found of interest was very different indeed. Ostensibly, it was like an old-school submarine battle tactics sandbox game, but with spaceships. The conceit being that you have no windows or real view of the outside, so all gameplay, navigation, and battle is done from instrument panels and radar-like displays. The mouse and keyboard is the standard interface, but the developers have also built in Arduino support, so the more hardcore and soldering iron familiar out there can actually custom build your own physical control panel interfaces. Not just buttons and dials, but light indicators for the health of various components of your ship and all that kind of stuff. They're all fully functional and tied directly into the game interface. I thought it was very clever indeed. And in fact, I found using the physical control panels made for a wonderfully tactile and engaging experience, bringing with it a very nerdy but very awesome level of immersion that just wasn't there while I was poking things with the mouse.
Ah, it's too bright out there. I'm not going out there. I'm going back inside where it's nice and dark, even if it does stink.
The food situation at the expo was predictably pricey, as it always is at these things. There's just no avoiding it. They know they can gouge us, so they do. But I did like the Fallout-themed food truck up in the corner, serving up drinks in glowing tumblers and mysteriously bright blue stuff. Bright blue stuff from a grotty-looking bucket, though, I'll have to tell you, so I didn't partake. It was a popular booth, though, and it's a cool theme, though, right? Nice idea, anyway. So yeah, what's the verdict on the very first RTX outside of the United States of America? Well, everything wrong and miserable about it was purely down to the catastrophically shitty venue. All the things that were there inside the shitty venue, the panels, the people, they're all pretty standard fare and quite enjoyable, and for all the stink and sweat and dehydrated lightheadedness, the huge crowds of excited attendees left no doubt that as much fun as one could have while risking a trip to the hospital for a banana bag IV was indeed had. I very much look forward to next year's event, and I desperately hope the learning experience of this debut is taken very seriously indeed. So yeah, if you're an Aussie and you like the Rooster Teeth or Achievement Hunter or Ruby or Funhouse or anything like that, keep your eye out for next year's event. I expect it will be fantastic.
I just slammed a can of Mountain Dew Energy. I have precisely 45 seconds of lucidity left for the day, and I'm using it to talk to you guys. Anyway. That was RTX, Rooster Teeth Expo, the first one ever in Australia. I think it went well. Could have gone better, but it went well. Catch you next time.